Both the state and the defense saved the best, or maybe the worst, for last. Here's what we're talking about today. The case is Florida versus Dima Tower. In this case, the jury heard testimony about a tragic night in Sarasota, Florida, where this young man unalived his parents in a particularly brutal and heinous way. Over the course of yesterday, they brought in all of the forensics people, and today there was one additional forensics person and the medical examiner that testified. It is often hard to convince a defendant that they can't fool the jury, that they can't lie to the jury, that they can't beat the prosecution at their own game. And as a result, people have this ridiculous idea if they just get up there and spin their story, they'll walk away clean. That is a triumph of hope over reality, because that's almost never the way it works out. Look at Darrell Brooks, look at Alex Murdaugh, and look at, in this case, our defendant here, Dima Tower. This is an amazing day. For the most part, the real evidence was put in on day one, and they got in all of the forensics and everything that goes like that. And then they brought in an FDLE inspector and also the medical examiner today. They finished with that, and then the issue came up as to whether or not the defendant was going to testify in his own defense. And this judge, Thomas Krug, he did a really good job of examining the man to find out whether or not he knew and understood both what the benefits and the risks were of taking this approach. Let's listen to a little bit of that.
The state has just rested their case in chief. They will in just a moment when we bring the jurors back in. They're going to rest on the record. So at this time in the trial, it's the opportunity for the defense, if they wish, to call witnesses and produce evidence. Do you understand that? I do. You might recall during the jury selection process, I talked to the jury. I spent a considerable amount of time covering this with them, that the burden in a criminal case is solely on the state of Florida, the state attorney, and that there is no burden on the defense. Do you understand that? In fact, you might recall I read to the jurors that the defense does not have to present any evidence or prove anything. In fact, I gave the jurors the example that you and Mr. Gilman didn't even have to be present during the trial. Do you recall that, Mr. Tower? I recall. Do you have any questions about that? No. Okay. Mr. Gilman has indicated that he doesn't have any attorneys or evidence to produce at this point, other than perhaps you. Is that your understanding as well? Yes. Okay. So now would be the time in the trial, if you wish to testify, that you would take the stand. Do you understand? Now, I also covered this, Mr. Tower, during jury selection. That choice as to whether or not you testify is solely or completely your choice. In other words, Mr. Gilman cannot make that choice for you. In fact, nobody can make that choice for you. Do you understand? I do. Mr. Gilman is a very experienced attorney. His job is to counsel you. He can give you his opinion, his advice, talk to you about the evidence that's been presented. But Mr. Gilman cannot make the decision as to whether or not you testify. That's solely your choice. Do you understand? And you would be sworn in by the clerk, just like every other witness. Mr. Gilman would have an opportunity to ask questions first. Your attorney, they would have to be open-ended questions. When Mr. Gilman is finished, the state attorney, one of the two prosecutors, would come up and they'd be able to ask you leading questions. We refer to that as a cross-examination. When the state is completed, Mr. Gilman would have another opportunity to come back. That's called a redirect. And that's what's happened with almost every witness so far. The same would apply to you. Do you understand that, Mr. Tower? Do you have any questions about the procedure or how your testimony would be treated the same as any other witness? No. Okay. And have you reached a decision? Yes. And what is your decision? I want to testify. Okay. Has anybody pressured you or forced you in order to get you to testify?
No.
Are you doing this freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Do you have a clear mind as you're entering into your decision today?
Yes.
Are you taking any medication right now while you're at the jail?
No.
Do you have any questions of the court, anything related to the laws surrounding your decision
No.
or your testimony?
No.
Okay. I'll find that the defendant has made a freely and voluntarily and knowing decision to become a witness in the case. So let's take a 10-minute break.
So, in spite of being told, you're going to get questions from your attorney, you're going to get questions from the state, he answered most of the questions, I guess, from his attorney. But once the cross-examination started, it was absolutely awful. Let's take a look at a few of the questions that came in on direct that support this idea that it was just sudden rage.
So how old were you when your mother passed away?
Well, my mother passed away. I would like to talk about, before I would start about talking about my life before my mother passed away.
I understand that.
The
issue that I'm hoping that you can respond to the questions.
Yeah, I can respond to the
Sure.
questions, but
Okay, so your mother, how old were you when your mother passed away?
I'm somewhere between 6, 7, or 8.
Okay,
I was thinking about this somewhere between those years.
Okay.
But, I mean, if maybe I can give a little bit of my personal background or something.
Mr. Tower, the way it's going to work the same with all witnesses. You need to listen to the question and then answer only the question that's been asked of you, okay?
Well, it's important that
It may be important, but you need to follow the rules in a courtroom, okay? Please ask your next question.
Sure. Were you just living only with your mom when she passed?
yes.
Okay.
So at this point, there was a little bit of a breakdown. He got very emotional and he wasn't answering the questions. He kept saying, I want to tell my story, essentially. And his attorney is like, I got to ask you questions. And I get to ask the questions, you get to answer them. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't working. So they took a break. And this is what happened after that break.
Also, Mr. Tower, the way a jury trial works is the attorneys, their job is to ask questions, and your role as a witness is to answer the questions that are asked of you. You understand?
I understand.
Okay. Mr. Gilman, anything we have to discuss before we move forward?
No, Your Honor.
You had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Tower about
I
the
did.
procedure and how we'll move forward?
I did.
All right. Anything else to discuss with the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Both sides ready to bring the jurors back in?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's bring the jury back in, please.
And Mr. Tower, I want to focus you on when you sat down and talked with the police down there in Venice. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Was that the first time that you had ever had that kind of encounter with police?
Yes.
How'd that make you feel?
Awkward. Made me feel awkward.
Hold on.
I'll overrule the objection.
Okay. Why would you say it makes you feel awkward?
Because I'm uncomfortable talking because I had many miscommunication and or not enough communication or misunderstanding with my adopted parents. So I grew up into not knowing how to talk.
Overruled. It was completing the answer. You may continue, Mr. Gilman.
So when you were talking with the police, did you understand everything that they were asking you?
I did.
Did you feel like you answered appropriately given that you were uncomfortable?
No.
Okay. Do you remember talking with them about multiple times having thoughts of killing your parents?
Yeah, I only had those thoughts a couple times.
Okay. Did you ever have a plan in place to make that happen?
No, I did not.
That testimony right there will allow the defense the ability to get a manslaughter instruction because he is essentially disclaiming premeditation. I don't know how effective it will be, though, based on the cross examination.
Look me in the eye, Mr. Tower. Guess not. So you said you didn't think about killing your parents.
I did not plan on it.
Mr. Tower,
It was not premeditated.
Mr. Tower, when I ask you a question, you can answer, but not until then. You pulled out a sharp knife and you walked into your parents' bedroom, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. What were you thinking about between the time you took that sharp knife, walked into your parents' bedroom, and started to stab your father in the dark?
I wasn't thinking anything.
You weren't thinking anything.
What is there to think?
I don't know. Your parents were sound asleep, weren't they?
I don't know.
Was your father awake when you started to stab him?
It was pitch black.
You picked up a knife from the kitchen and you cowardly went into your... Were your parents awake?
I don't know if they were awake. I already answered it.
What did your father say after you stabbed him?
What the hell are you doing?
And then what happened? Did you stab him again?
Yes.
Okay, what were you thinking about between the first stab and the second stab?
There's nothing to think.
Nothing to think.
What am I supposed to think then?
Listen to me. You don't, there was nothing to think. That's your answer. All right. So you're telling me that as a human being, you walked into your father's bedroom, your mother sleeping next to you, the parents that brought you home here.
Objection, argumentative, compound question.
These people were not my parents.
So it gets a little fractious between the lawyers for a little bit. This bit of colloquy continues. She asks a leading question, and he gives a rambling answer. He never gives a yes or no. He just basically tells her she doesn't know what she's talking about. And it ends in this colloquy as we get close to the end of the cross-examination, which I think pretty much is an example of everything that's happened before that point.
You made Jennifer and Robbie's life in their home a living hell, didn't you, Mr. Tower?
Again, there was a lot that went on.
Yes.
Yes, but
Yes.
some adults don't know how to be
Yes.
parents. Yes.
You made their life a living
Yeah, no,
hell.
I didn't. There's some adults don't know how to be parents. You don't know what you're talking about.
In fact,
I came from a harsh environment.
many people come from harsh environments,
Yeah, but
and they don't
gotta
kill
know
their
you gotta
parents.
know how to treat those people correctly so they grow up properly.
Yeah, so how do you need to be treated?
I have been treated. It's too late for that. I'm adult now. But you're talking as if you don't know how to be a parent and you don't know what it takes.
Are you a parent?
No, I'm not a parent, but you're asking me a
You made their life
pointless
a
question.
living hell. In fact, your father told you that you were destroying his marriage.
If I
to his
made
wife. Isn't it true?
if I made their life
Mr.
live in hell, that's probably had something to do with them.
The two of you are just talking over each other.
No, he is
Ms.
refusing to
Franklin,
answer.
You're asking a question, he begins to answer, and then you add to your question. Mr. Tower, when she's speaking, you then begin to answer. And what's happening is none of us are catching the question nor the answer. So let's please follow the procedure that we've done all throughout the trial. Let's please do a question, then we'll do a pause, and then the answer.
And if that did not annoy or upset the jury, then certainly he did himself no good with the last question that she asked, which essentially undid any good he possibly could have done during his direct examination.
When you were sitting out in your car before you went into the house on the night of August 31st, did you decide to kill your parents before you walked in?
Yes.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
I think if I were an armchair psychologist, I might diagnose him as a sociopath. He's not looking anywhere but right in front of him. He's not making eye contact. He's very closed off. And it looks to me like he clearly has some kind of emotional problem. The real question for me in this case is that at this point, if the defense has not attempted to get a psychiatric evaluation, if they haven't attempted to find an expert who can testify that, maybe this kid did have a psychotic break, again, I'm not sure they've done their job. The defense attorney, I think, started off pretty smart by admitting the acts, but he really needed to come back with some evidence of what's wrong with this kid's head. Closing arguments happen tomorrow, and we'll be here for those. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here today. If you have the opportunity today, try to do one kind thing to help somebody else. Any kind thing will do. Buy somebody a Coke, get them a cup of coffee. Anything that makes their day better, that would be a way to help make the world a better place. Because after all, isn't that what we're all after? Now, YouTube has a few things that they think you might be interested in, and they're going to be showing you that right up there.